Merry Christmas or Merry Belated Christmas. Today we're going over to my in-laws' house to celebrate our Christmas holiday. I'm going to bring over some homemade baked mac and cheese. I got this recipe off of TikTok from a chef. Her name is Chef Tini, T-I-N-I. You should check her channel out. She's got a bunch of recipes that are really good. This is a recipe that she uses to make mac and cheese, and it's super delicious. So I'm going to get started here, and I hope you guys enjoy. First thing we're going to do to get it right out of the way is we're going to boil our pasta. For this recipe, I like to use the cavatappi pasta. This is what Chef Tini uses in her video. She says that all the cheese sauce that we're going to make gets all up in the noodles and everything, and it does. And I kind of prefer the taste of this. I'm going to use 1 pound of this. We're going to get this boiled. While we're waiting for this to get warmed up, I usually don't add any salt to the water until the water's boiling, and then we'll add our pasta. But while we're waiting for this, we need to shred our cheese. All right, one thing we don't want to do is use the bagged shredded cheese. That's a big no-no. That stuff's got like a coating on it. Doesn't melt as well. You're gonna need to buy the big chunks of cheese and shred it yourself. You can do it by hand if you want. If you want to spend 20 minutes or so like that doing that, I purchased a shredder a while back. I got this off of TikTok also, but this is great, especially if you're shredding all kinds of stuff. But this will cut the shredding down to like 5 minutes or a little more. So for this recipe, we're going to use 1 pound of mozzarella. Again, we're going to shred this up in the shredder. 1/2 pound of sharp cheddar cheese and 1 pound of Colby Jack. So I'm going to get busy shredding this up while this water is coming to a boil. I will say one thing with this shredder is that you kind of have to stop a little bit so it doesn't get clogged up. But as long as you stop and start pulling the cheese out while you're doing it, there's no issues. And I usually alternate between cheeses. So I did 1/2 of the Colby Jack, 1/2 of mozzarella. Now I'm going to switch to something else. There's Frank. He loves the shredded cheese. You know dogs love cheese, right? Okay, our water is almost to a boil. I got my cheese all shredded up. I'm going to mix this all together to make sure it's all combined equally. And then we're going to split it into 2 different bowls. There you go. Now it doesn't have to be perfect. I guess I could maybe weigh this as the exact amount in each bowl, but it doesn't have to be perfect. 1 bowl we're going to mix into our sauce, and it's going to melt and get all nice and creamy. The other one we're going to end up topping on the pasta in the pasta dish before we bake it. It's good enough for me. This water is coming to a decent boil now. I'm going to go ahead and add some salt to it. I don't really know how much, about that much. We're going to give this a stir. And then in with our pasta. Give it another stir. Cover back up. Let that come to a boil again. You want to keep stirring your pasta so it doesn't stick together. I'll keep an eye on that. It's usually probably about 6 or 7 minutes. Maybe about 7 minutes is going to need to boil until it's just about al dente. Al dente in Italian is don't overcook your noodles, you big dummy. That's what that means. So just before it's al dente, it's not. You don't want it to be too hard. You don't want it to be too soft, because the noodle will actually cook a little bit further when it's getting baked. And so, but we don't want to end up with too soggy, and we don't want it to be too firm. So it's kind of, you got to find a happy medium. It's about 7 minutes. All right, it's going pretty good now. It's still way too hard yet, but just got to keep stirring it, and it will get there, I promise. Just check the noodles, they're right where I want them to be. I'm going to go ahead and put these in the strainer and drain the water out of them. And I'm also going to leave the spoon in there with it. You're going to need to stir the noodles every once in a while, because if they sit too long when they're cooling, they're going to get hard or stuck together. So I'm going to dump these, and then we'll start with the next step. Okay, we're going to make our cheese sauce for the mac and cheese. We are going to start with 3 tablespoons of butter, and we're going to get this melted down Plop that in there. You're going to need a spatula for this part, and you're also going to need a whisk for the next part. Look at that, how cute is that? And a whisk for the next part. So put this aside for now, spatula first. Let's get this butter melted down. All right, while this is getting melted down, the spices that we're going to be using for this, we have salt, pepper, smoked paprika, and garlic powder. Smoked paprika is important. It really adds a smoky flavor, so I highly advise you get that instead of regular paprika. I don't really know how much, guys. I didn't really measure it, so it's about that much. Can you tell? I have no idea how much that is. Half a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon, salt, pepper. You can always add more to your taste at the end. So there you go. But what we're going to do first, I'm going to cut this heat down just a little bit, about medium heat. You're going to add half of your seasonings. So let's get this mixed up here. We're going to add half the seasoning right now. About like, right about there. Now we want to mix this around. It's going to get like an orange paste. This is called blooming the seasonings, or bloom the seasonings. This is what Chef Tini does, and immediately, if you could smell this from my face, you really get a good aroma of this. But we need to do this for about a couple minutes, and you have to keep stirring it, guys. If you just leave it and walk away, you're going to end up burning this, and you're going to get a burned flavor, and it will not be good. So we got the seasonings in, we got the butter in, everything's mixed pretty good. Now we're going to add our flour. Flour is 3 tablespoons of flour. We're going to dump this in. Again, stir it up really good. What we're doing now is we're making a roux. Anytime you add, you've got fat from the butter, and then you add flour to that, that is you're making a roux. It's going to stick together. You want like a gummy kind of paste. Get rid of all that flour. Spread it out, smash it. Make sure you're getting it cooked good. This has to be another deal with flour. Same thing, guys. If you watch my sausage gravy video, you got to cook flour down when you add it in. It takes a couple minutes. If you don't do this correctly, you're going to end up with a grainy taste or a grainy kind of cheese sauce, and you're not going to want that. So just keep moving it around. I just usually keep smashing it, kind of get it off my little mini spatula here. Make sure we're doing that. Okay, I'm going to move this off the heat because I forgot to open my evaporated milk. We're going to add our evaporated milk now. I'm just going to do a little bit at a time, but we're moving to the whisk. Right there. This is important too. You want to make sure that you're getting all the clumps out. You're going to be doing this for a while, guys. You're going to be whisking for a pretty good amount of time. We want to make sure we get all the clumps out. Keep moving this around. Go ahead and add some more. Once it gets to the point where we start adding cheese, you kind of want it to be on low. But again, it's very important if you keep stirring this and getting the clumps out. If you just let it sit, it's going to burn and it's not going to taste good. So I still see some clumps. I got a little bit of this evaporated milk left. I'm going to toss that in. Get that good. Now we're going to do some Dijon mustard. About a tablespoon of this. You don't have to add this, but I highly recommend it. So does Chef Tini. So about that much. Really has a good flavor. Get that mixed up in there. All right, starting to look pretty good. Now we're going to come in with the 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. We're going to add it the same way. Slow, nice and easy. Keep whisking. Coming in with the second wave of heavy whipping cream. Getting that stuff really good. Time, you gotta keep whisking it. Alright, definitely looking more smooth now. Okay, going good. It's getting smoother. Last bit of heavy whipping cream. Adding that in. Now we're doing the rest of our seasonings. We're going to go ahead and add that in. Mix it really good. I love the smell of that smoked paprika. Looking really smooth now. Looking good. Okay, now this is the most fun part of this whole recipe. We're going to grab one of your bowls of cheese that you have here. We're going to start adding this cheese to our roux here, only a little bit at a time, about a handful to a half handful at a time, and it's going to melt. It's going to melt really quickly. See that? We're just going to keep doing that. It's about gone already. Now that we're adding our cheese to this roux, this is actually called a bechamel. You guys didn't know this, you're going to learn so much today. Also, I want to mention that it's important that when you're shredding your cheese at the beginning while you're boiling your water, it's good to let your cheese sit to get close to room temperature. It doesn't have to be room temperature, but as long as it's not ice cold. If it's ice cold, it can, I forgot what she said it does to this, but the cold cheese does something to this and it just doesn't turn out right. Look at that. Look how smooth and awesome that looks. Another handful. Feeling it. You gotta keep whisking, gotta keep it moving. Almost done. Okay. Last bit of cheese. Boom. Let's get this melted. Pay the cheese tax to Frank. That's all melted. I'm cutting the heat. Now we're going to add our pasta that we boiled and cooked that's in the strainer to this delicious cheese sauce. Now it's a good time also to taste the cheese sauce. Oh, that is money. That is money. So, but if you want to add more garlic powder, you want to add more salt, whatever it is, go ahead. I'd be careful with that salt because there's salt in the butter, there's salt in the cheese, and we added salt to the pasta water. So you might not want to add too much salt to your seasoning mixture. Okay, we want to make sure that this is all incorporated. Stir all that in. Okay, we're going to get this stirred in, and then we're going to put it in our baking dish. You need preferably a 9 by 13, 13 and a half or something like that baking dish. I almost always use an aluminum pan. It's just easier to throw it away. But let me get that set up. Okay. We are going to go in with our greased, almost lost it, pan. We want to put half of the mac and cheese down. And this is freaking heavy. So that's probably about half. Set this down real quick. Spread this out. Actually, I think I'm going to add a little more. Spread it all out. Now we're going to hit it with the other half of the cheese. Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to cover this with the other half of our shredded cheese. Just half of this bowl now. Because the other half is going to be topped with it. There you go. And our other half of the mac and cheese with the delicious cheese sauce. There we go. Okay, I just kind of usually move this around and get it to where it's covered on all the cheese that you just dumped on there. Now we hit it with our last bit of cheese. Make sure you cover everything. Boom, that's it. So now you can wait for this to cool a little bit and then put it in your fridge. If you do decide to cook it like next day or something, you're gonna wanna boil your pasta not quite as long. But this can go right in the oven now at 350 for 30 minutes until the cheese is basically melted. After 30 minutes, it's pretty much done when that cheese is all melted. I always like to broil it at the end and you get that nice brown crispy top to it. So then once that's done, that's it. Then you just dive right in. This is best right out of the oven, guys. If you bake it and let it sit for a while, all that cheese and goodness after you bake it is just going to get hard. So you can pretty much got to eat it like right out of the oven. So hope you enjoyed. It's pretty easy. I don't know if I'm going to bake this here or I'm going to take it over to my in-laws and maybe bake it. But either way, I'll try to make sure you see the end result. So this is the finished product, guys, after about 30 minutes at 350 or so. I wish I would have been able to get the video of, you know, serving up a scoop of this because it had a really good cheese pull on it. Looked awesome. Maybe another time or another video I'll do it. But it was gone, completely gone. Everybody ate it. Everybody liked it. But like I said, I wasn't able to get a video. Everybody's kind of waiting on us to eat, so I just took a pic in a hurry here. So, but there you go. You guys got to try it. It's a little bit of work, but it's definitely worth it.